Hello and welcome to Noobs in Progress. My name is Nathan, and here with me I have.
Ethan Murphy, Nathan Beatty's friend.
Hello, Ethan. How are you doing today?
My friend, I am well. I am well. Or you could say,
You're
I'm
well.
good. I'm good.
Good.
How about yourself?
We haven't heard that in a while. Oh, that's good. That's good. So,
How about yourself? How are you?
yeah, I'm doing all right. I don't know, the nihilism is starting to catch up with me today. I'm not gonna lie. But
Oh,
trying to push through it.
Jesus. And we're off.
And
And we're
rough.
off.
Well, the news with this week has been shit on toast, and I figure
Boof.
why deny it?
Fair.
Why
Fair.
to hide from it? Let's just weep into our coffee. But you know what though? This has actually like gotten me through today because I'm really like I've been excited to chat with you about this because yet again we are doing a movie that I have not seen.
Truth.
And for those of you who are not aware, what we do here is we watch a thing, usually a popular culture thing that we have watched that typically is considered something that everybody has seen, and one of us hasn't seen it. Well, guess what? Usually that one of us is me, and yet
Yes.
again, it's me. So Ethan, do you want to tell everybody what we're doing if they couldn't already tell from the logo on the screen?
Sure. For those who are listening to us and are not watching the
Yes.
podcast or whatnot, we are doing the well. I almost said film. Shame on me. Shame
Oh,
on me.
geez.
We are doing the 2 hour chronicled piece of entertainment, quote unquote, known as Solo. I will not call it a film or even a movie. I'll call it
Uh-huh.
Solo.
Uh-huh.
It is starring Alden Ehrenreich. It has the wonderful talents of Mr. Woody Harris. Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson. I apologize.
Okay.
Woody
Mm-hmm.
Harrelson. Khaleesi from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my personal favorite, Fleabag herself. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And
Uh-huh.
Donald Glover is in there too, of
Uh-huh.
course, as Lance. So it's a star-studded cast, directed by Ron Howard in a Star Wars prequel
Mm-hmm.
of sorts.
Uh-huh.
And Nate, I wanted to ask you, real quick, just do you think this was a good idea? The idea of doing the early adventures, or kind of a semi, origin story of Han Solo.
I don't think the idea itself is bad. I think it's a hard it's a hard thing to do because I think part of the point of the arc of Han Solo in the original trilogy is that he starts off as a little bit of a chip on his shoulder asshole that not many people like cuz he's not, he doesn't he's not really good at keeping his promises kind of thing. And then
Right.
by the end he's realized that like no, there really is bigger things in life than making money and just surviving. Um and uh and that was part of the arc of his character within the movies, and to go back and see him to get to the point of him just being a general scoundrel
Right.
seems kind of odd,
It does,
but I don't
and
know.
that's the idea. Is like you realize because it's a prequel, we know where he's supposed to end. He's supposed to end as a scoundrel because of
Mhm.
the episode 4 starts with him as a scoundrel, a scruffy nerf herder. If
Mhm.
he's not a scruffy nerf herder by the end of Solo, it's like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't it's one of those things where I am interested to see it. I'm especially interested to see it because um I felt the movie, or not the movie. I'm talking about the other movie. The other oh damn, what was it? The one that was about before the Death Star.
Before the Death Star.
The
So,
prequel to New
oh,
Hope.
Rogue One, Rogue One.
Well, Rogue One. Thank you. Um, Rogue One was kind of like the first of these like not in the Skywalker saga
Yeah,
movies,
yes,
and
but still within the lore or canon of the film.
exactly. Kind of like kind of like a DVD's extra. Um,
Yeah,
kids ask your
that's
parents.
the way to put
Um,
it.
um, but the problem with Rogue One, the problem I had with Rogue One was it was very it didn't seem like the story, like there were any choices being made by the characters. It was basically like the story was saying like, okay, you got to go here now, go do this. And then they would go do that. And then, okay, now you got to go over here and do that. And then they go do that. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
yeah, that didn't seem to be anything beyond that.
I agree.
And I was worried, and I've heard the same thing about Solo. So I'm going to be interested to see if that's the case or if it's just, I don't know. I could have heard wrong. So we'll find out.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make, and it makes lots of sense. The idea of almost a lack of agency because the characters are, or even the writers, when they're making this story, were trapped or beholden to the idea of so many parameters established by the lore of the
Mm-hmm.
previous films, which is why people oftentimes have problems with prequels. It's kind of like you can't really. There's so many expectations that have to be met by
Mm-hmm.
the story because it's already within. There's so many things that have already been stated about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it clear that Anakin Skywalker is going to grow up to become Darth Vader, he by all accounts has to of course start veering towards the dark side. We know it's going to happen. It has to
Mm-hmm.
happen. Otherwise, you've sold us a false bill of goods. One of the reasons I actually like Better Call Saul so much is because they found a way to have their cake and eat it too. Spoiler alert for Better Call Saul. So the way that Breaking Bad ends, Saul is not with. It doesn't is free, quote unquote free, but his
Mm-hmm.
life is drastically altered. So we
Mm-hmm.
see what that world is like in the future, more or less, or the present tense. But the main story takes place. It's a prequel to everything about Breaking Bad. However, that prequel is set years before Saul ever met up with
Mm-hmm.
Walt and Jesse. So therefore, you're seeing his own world, his own life, his own story, without any of the influence of the things that take place in Breaking Bad. And it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not worried like, wait a minute, doesn't Saul have to do this in order for Breaking Bad season 2 to make sense? No, it's its
Yeah.
own world, its own stories that take place in its own time period, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this with Solo, for example, we know some things already. There's things you already know that happen. You know you're gonna get there's Lando involved. You know the Millennium Falcon's
Mm-hmm.
involved. You know Chewie's involved. So it's pretty safe bet you get a chance to see how these characters met and how they first interacted and how these things
Mm-hmm.
went down. The whole Kessler Run and Parsecs and all that kind of stuff. And because there's so much lore that's already been established with these things, you have such expectations that have to be met, which are virtually impossible to be met.
Mm-hmm.
And certain things that kind of just can't make sense essentially because of how things have been set up. So it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure in
Yeah.
a way, and that's something it's a hurdle that they have to get over.
Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see what they do with it. Because I do think it can be done well. I do think it
Sure.
can, like, if you go back far enough or um, you essentially, you can establish a character or even do something where like not even really focus on Han Solo. Like I'm not, I'm not saying that they have a movie called Solo and then have it be about his dad.
Right.
But like I think there's just talking about the general idea of taking a beloved character that started in a place and then do a prequel about them. I think you can tell a story that includes them that is interesting. Like maybe
Yes.
even do something like make it where there was like a group of friends that this character was a part of,
Yes.
and then to make the movie about that and not necessarily about the character. And then it also kind of gives the fans a little bit of their thing. But obviously they didn't do that. They went with Solo, and we got what we got, and I'm going to be interested to see. That's another reason I'm kind of actually excited to see this because yeah, I am for
Yeah.
some odd reason.
But and we'll get and that's a good segue into the questions. We can get into
Oh
the
yes.
excitement, why you're excited, and things like that. And you did mention that's one to piggyback off what you said. Yeah, you definitely can do prequels that do it well. There's a couple
Mm-hmm.
examples. X-Men First Class. Have you seen that
Mm-hmm.
one, Sergey?
Yeah.
Or Nate,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Sergey is my name for Nate off mic oftentimes. Long story there. But Nate, yeah, you've seen that
I
one.
am the rhino. Anyway.
Oh, God. Oh, flashbacks. Painful, blistering, hemorrhoidal flashbacks. But
Ow.
yes, The X-Men First Class is a good example. Another one is
Mhm,
Casino Royale, the James Bond film that came
mhm,
out with Daniel Craig. That's basically
mhm,
it was 2005, I think it was. That's
mhm,
essentially a prequel, and also it shows you why James Bond ends up the way he does as far as with women. So yeah, you can definitely do it where you have a character that is more or less somewhat naive, that ends up somewhat jaded because of the prequel
mhm,
film. So if they went that route, as far as having seen Solo break bad for the first time, why he breaks bad, it makes sense too.
mhm.
Anyway, all that just to say, there's still potential. Yeah,
Yeah.
still potential. All right. So here is our noobs in progress pre-coital questionnaire. And if you have any questions about what pre-coital is, please send all those emails to Nate at Nathan Beatty, the one and only. Question number one: have you heard of said film?
Yes, I've heard of it a lot. In fact, we happen to be at the Air and Space Museum. This will make sense in a second. Um, on opening weekend of Solo, and I had my two small children there. And this is the one. This is the one out by Dulles. I can't
Oh,
remember the
that
name of
direct.
it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
not the
the
one in going towards Richmond or anything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, this is the like the Smithsonian,
Yes.
but the one at Dulles, which is the gigantic plane hangar that has the space shuttle and all that stuff. Um, and we were there. Well, they have an IMAX theater there, and they were playing it there that opening weekend.
Oh,
So the place was, it was so weird going into an Air and Space Museum that has like these World War II planes and watching stormtroopers walk around. It
right.
was like,
That is a ooh. That's a weirdly surreal
yeah.
concept. Yeah.
But
Huh. Interesting.
yeah, but it was like fairly early in, it was, I think I want to say it was like 2017, maybe yeah, I think it was like late 2017. So shit hadn't gotten too bad by then. So it didn't feel too dystopian. Um, but uh,
Right.
but it was funny because we were outside the theater, and I want to say it was. I could be wrong, and this could misdate it or anything, but I want to say it was near Father's Day or something. So Beth the warden wanted me to get a picture with me holding the kids and the stormtroopers, and so we have this shot, but it's like the classic hilarious shot of me holding the two kids, both of them crying because they're
Oh
like,
no.
"What are these scary monster people near
Oh
us?"
God.
And me just like smirking like, it was the wife who wanted the picture, not me.
The best part is that is trapped. That moment in time is trapped forever.
Oh
When your
yeah.
kids go to therapy down the road,
Hmm.
they can just literally just
Hmm.
slide that over to the therapist and just say, oh, "Okay,
Hmm.
let's
Yep.
start here."
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
It all began with
it all began.
with Solo.
Oh, thanks, Rod Howard. It won't be the first time. It won't be the first time.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this you did touch on this earlier, but what have you heard about the film exactly? What kind of reviews have you heard?
Um, I've heard middling, like
Middling.
it's been middling reviews.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything like on like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 level or anything like that.
Sure. Sure.
Granted, I hadn't heard that about Amazing Spider-Man 2, so
You
um,
know about Paul Giamatti.
yeah, yeah. I was a naive child, up till recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't heard. Most of it had been middling, but there's one thing I am aware of, and that is that after its release, it did so poorly in terms of what was expected. Like it still brought in like
Ah.
millions, but the reception and the box office was enough to cause Lucasfilms and Disney to pump the brakes on the non-Skywalker movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Sadly, and I had hoped, I really hoped that it wasn't a portent for things to come, but it was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, that's the things you heard, or is you connected some dots there, which is good.
mhm,
Good deductive reasoning,
mhm.
detective. And yeah,
Yes.
it's you are not off with what you the assessments you've made. I'll put it that way. I'll leave it there. I don't want to tip my hand too much. All right. Now this one I do not know actually. Why haven't you seen it? Now you mentioned the kids. Was that purely the reason? You just didn't have time with the kids?
Pretty much. Like it was kind of the same thing with Rogue One. I didn't see Rogue One until this was pre Disney Plus. Rogue One was put on Netflix randomly, and I was like, oh, let me watch it. But with Solo, I just hadn't got around to it, and then by the time it became available anywhere I would want to see it, the other Star Wars movies and films had come out, and I was like, maybe I'll hold off.
Yeah, you weren't determined to see it. You were like, I gotta see
Yeah.
Solo.
Yeah, like, and also I'm not gonna lie, Han Solo isn't one of my favorite characters. Like, I don't dislike him by any stretch.
Now you are trying to get us literally set ablaze on the internet.
I like him. I like him, but
backpedal faster. Backpedal with both feet.
But I don't know. For some reason, that character never landed square in my target. Like, I don't know. Maybe I was more of a whiny kid, and that's why I liked Luke. But like,
more shots fired. You're just firing shots with both the twin pistols.
Well, heck, with Luke, everybody knows Luke was a whiny little brat in A New Hope.
Oh yeah,
nobody.
In episode 4, he is the whiniest of whiny. Yeah, 100%.
And I think I was drawn more to him when I watched it as a kid. Han Solo I liked, but I didn't. He was not my favorite character. So there's that.
So there's that.
So there's that. I do have to
realize that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that that actually we have a chatter, and what's really funny is I know this chatter. I probably for I've known this person longer than most people, not counting my family.
That's comforting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my. So hey, Mick, how you doing?
And now
he's saying burn him for blasphemy, which I think he means me. So that sounds like
I'm
him.
pretty sure it doesn't mean me. The thing about it is I do believe Mick's favorite. No, one of his
different
favorite,
Mick, by the way, different Mick. I've got to say.
Different Mick. Okay,
this is a different Mick.
Right. Not the one that I know. Okay. Fair.
Yeah, no, not CIP Nick. This is.
I'm pretty sure you only want to see CIP Mick for 6 years or whatever. Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Now,
Sorry
I'm not gonna
that left turn.
No. The confusion is well welcome. I'm not going to say too much else about that because I want you to still have plenty of room to be surprised.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Now, the next question is: are you a fan of the genre? And the genre, what I just mean here, I would say is, are you a fan of sci-fi fantasy? Because it is fantasy.
Yeah, I like sci-fi fantasy. I enjoy. I enjoyed. Obviously I enjoy Star Wars, and I like a little bit of Star Trek and that kind of thing. I will say I am more into like the high fantasy of like Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff. So because there's always that warring battle of or not, it's not a battle, but there's the fandom fight of between the Star Wars, Star Trek nerds versus the I'm gonna dress up as an elf and go out into the woods and hit my friends with foam sticks, I'm more on the I'll hit you with a foam stick, but I do like sci-fi fantasy. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's fun thing.
That's another question too. Star Wars or Star Trek?
I'm Star Wars. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm not even a fan of Star Trek. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is, yada, but no, Star Wars. Okay, cool deal. Next one is very adjacent. It's just, are you a fan of the franchise? Now, there's so much. It's obviously yes, but there's so much Star Wars out there. But ultimately, in general, you are a fan of the franchise. Yeah. Now, what are you hoping to see?
Oh God. I'm hoping to see some good action scenes. I'm hoping to see
Okay.
some good space
Okay.
fights, maybe
Yeah.
some, don't tell me, and I won't even look at your face when I
I
say it, but I
I will.
might see the Kessel Run. You know, um, I know I don't want to, but I know I'm going to see bad physics. They're going to be throwing out terms and stuff. I just hope they go. I just hope they go like completely bananas with it and use terms that absolutely do not connect with anything. You know.
The quantum kumquat is kumquating. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yes. What about you? What about you? Are you Star Wars, Star Trek?
I'm definitely 100% Star Wars. I mean, I can't. The up until the J.J. Abrams, I say people call J.J. Abrams because that was the first. The first film was by J.J. Abrams. So
Yeah.
up until the J.J. Abrams era of Star Trek movies, I couldn't sit through any of them.
It was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
I liked the. I did like the not so much in movies, but with the television shows. I liked Next Generation.
There are things about Next Generation. I mean, obviously, Patrick Stewart is iconic as hell. Riker's beard deserves his own Emmy. I like Worf, the actor, the actual actor who plays Worf is cool. He does voice acting too. He's really cool. There are things. Seeing what's that woman's name? Is it the one that wears a purple suit? In that basically
Oh
the
yeah.
purple spandex.
Oh yeah.
She wore the yeah she was wearing the leggings and
Troy?
stuff before they were. Yes,
Was it
Troy.
Croy?
Her name
Troy. That's what it was.
Troy, like Helena Troy, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just watching her walk was fun.
Oh yes.
Genuinely fun.
Of course.
Yeah, and Whoopi Goldberg's hat. Whoopi Goldberg's hat's great too. So there
Oh
are
yeah.
things. There are things about the show in general that are fun, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Star Wars, 100% Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. Now here's the big question, the one that is always the fan fave. What are you afraid to see?
Bad writing. I'm really afraid, and this is something that has plagued Star Wars for the longest time. It's it's one of the oldest things of the movies is the fact that there's the famous quote from Harrison Ford, when he said to George Lucas, he said, "You can write this shit, George, but you can't say it." And it's because if you really look at the writing of the original films, it's not that great. It's not that good.
No.
But
If it wasn't for their delivery
yeah,
and their kind of nuance, it's like, ugh.
yeah. But so I'm just worried that I'm just going to see bad writing and
Sure.
a story that doesn't make sense. Because I almost want to add on to that because the last time we watched something that ended up being a complete dumpster fire of a piece of pop culture, again picking on Amazing Spider-Man 2, something I didn't expect was the fact that the damn thing didn't have a plot. Like it was just like
It really didn't.
the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just like what's the plot?
Really
And I'm worried about that too now. Like now I'm afraid every time I
Yeah.
come up on one of these things, it's not going to make sense, and that worries me.
Yeah. It really is, and that's one of those that I didn't, because I only saw Amazing Spider-Man twice. That first time in the theater, then that one time we saw it together, and I had forgotten. Oh yeah, even though it has three, it's an assortment of villains and all kinds of stuff going on, there isn't actually a definitive plot. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then I need to go ahead and actually I'm gonna start making sure I write down the things you're saying so we keep a lot of.
Okay.
So I'll just say, what are you afraid to see? Poor writing and lack of a plot.
Poor writing and lack of a plot. And pretty soon you're just going to be able to copy and paste these fucking things.
Way ahead of you. I am lazy. And this is the final question, dear Sergey. Nate, whatever, Sergey. People know it now. Do you think you will like this movie?
I'm not sure, and I'm going to stick with I'm not sure because it's one of those situations where my expectation is fairly low because of everything I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting to be whelmed. And
nice.
Yes, I'm expecting to be whelmed, and but there is a possibility because this has happened with other movies. My expectations have been set so low that when I see it and it's not as bad as I expected, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of enjoyed that. That was fun.
Fair.
Um,
I think that's the best way to approach things.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, so I think that's yes, that's what I'm doing. Yes.
And that's, I feel like I should have. I think in general we kind of need to get back to those days of like, if you went back in the days like in the 80s or what have you, especially the 80s or 90s, people there were things weren't only franchises, when they weren't only sequels. There were a lot of
Yeah.
original things that were coming out, and trailers couldn't give the whole movie away. They were just pretty much like, there's an announcer guy saying, in a world where this guy is doing this stuff in his car with his friend, watch the movie. It's like, okay, so you
Yeah.
pretty much go into the movie not really having any too much of an expectation or too many bars to overcome. It's like, okay, whatever this is, oh wow, that's pretty fun. I enjoy myself. The end.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in there expecting literally the world, if it gives you only, the moon and a couple stars, like, how dare you? Refunds for everybody. So
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's yeah, I think that pretty much covers. So we're gonna be watching Solo, and then we're gonna be back here next week to talk about it, to talk about my thoughts and feelings and your thoughts and feelings on it as well. What are you? Okay, so maybe we should throw in a question for the non-noob if there is one. So are you looking forward to seeing it again, or is that too much of a tell to the noob?
So it's not the worst of times. It's not the best. It's very Tolstoy. It's not the worst of times. It's not the best of times. Or I guess what's that? The inverse Tolstoy. It's a fairly easy watch.
Okay.
Fairly easy watch. So yeah, it's not
Okay.
bad. It's not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
I have to leave it at that. I can't say too much more because obviously that's kind of giving things away.
Yeah. And and coming from you, that also doesn't give much away, because, there's a lot of movies that, like you love movies so much, you would watch movies that, like, for me, there's movies that I really, really like that I'm like, I could go the rest of my life and never watch that again. And
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So from you, it's that's good. It's good that we're,
Absolutely. Okay.
so
Very cool.
yeah, I just, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, as I often do.
You'll find it next
It
week.
happens. I'll find it next week. And so join us next time. So we're going to take a quick break while I, set up all the streamies and everything for Batman. So Mick, if you want to stick around. Oh, I think we might have lost him. Mick, if you want to stick around, go ahead. We'll be talking. You'll be able to chat with us a little bit at the end, and while we play Batman. So do you want to say anything before we wrap this portion of the puppy up?
Yes. For those of you who aren't going to be able to watch Batman, who are just listening to the podcast, thanks for listening to the podcast. We realize they're two different shows, or I realize they're two different shows, even though Nate refuses to acknowledge that. They're a separation of church and state.
Oh, okay. Yes. So we're gonna be right back. I just got a thing in the chat of what I missed. I'm gonna cut all this out of the podcast thing, so don't worry.
Okay.
Mick, we're gonna be taking a quick break while I set some stuff up, and then we're gonna be back to playing Batman. So make sure you join us, because I'll definitely we'll be able to chat. The three of us can chat more as well. While I do that. So stick around. Yes, Batman Return to Arkham. So thank you everybody for joining us. And we will, y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll be right back.
Johnny Sins.